Welcome, metabolic boot campers. We're going through our 4 metabolic vital behaviors. This one, it's a doozy. 30 years of metabolic training, 12,000 clients plus. This one made the biggest impact in my own metabolic day, my own metabolic week, and my own metabolic life. And I can't wait to share it with you. It's called timing and priming. It isn't the amount of calories that matter in weight loss. It isn't the amount of exercise that you're doing. In fact, people that exercise to lose weight are actually programming themselves for obesity in the future. And I'll show you what I mean in a mechanism in a video down the road where you should never use exercise to manage your weight. But back to the crucial priming and timing. This is a vital metabolic behavior. We love to blame, don't we, in America? We love to point fingers and call things bad. Bad cholesterol, LDL. Well, it turns out if you have low LDL levels, you are headed directly to a path of cognitive incongruencies and potentially dementia. That's right, low cholesterol LDLs are going to be found to be a very damaging aspect of life. Why do we like to blame things? It's easier to blame something else than actually look at the pathomechanisms that are going on inside of us and around us in our environment. So, you've heard the term circadian. Many of you will say, Dr. Tom, okay, I got it. You're going to teach us about sleep. You're going to tell us how important sleep is for the brain and that you lose weight when you sleep deeply. Absolutely. But I'm not going to speak on that subject at all. Circadian patterns. Circadian, the word circadian means slightly more than 24 hours. There is a cycle within us, a synergistic dynamic cycle that is attempting to align itself with the sun, with the earth, and with the moon. No, I'm not going to bring out crystals and start doing a dance to the Luna. Now, if you dig that kind of stuff, more power to you. But what I'm talking about is the dance within ourselves metabolically as it relates to our external environment. Take a look with me. This is a wonderful hormone called cortisol. And I can hear the sissing and booing now. Cortisol is a stress steroid, Dr. Tom. Cortisol puts weight on, Dr. Tom. Cortisol is what causes us all these problems, Dr. Tom. What did I just say? Stop blaming cortisol. Cortisol is a priceless gift from God. Cortisol gives us energy. Without cortisol, every joint in our body would be in miserable inflammation. Cortisol is a life-giving substance. So stop villainizing it and start to work with it synergistically. If you learn its cycle and how to dance with cortisol, she will knock weight off of you so quickly, give you the energy that you need. Let's take a look. Cortisol is produced by the adrenal glands. Crucial. Now, if you're dealing with a thyroid dysfunction, if you're dealing with chronic fatigue, mold exposure, if you're dealing with fibromyalgia, these things cripple adrenal function. And without cortisol, we will not be healthy, so we need to bring her back online. And I'm going to show you how to prime your adrenal pumps. I'm going to show you how to prime your cardiac heart pump. I'm going to show you how to cleanse the brain. As you're doing these things that will benefit you tremendously, you will also learn how to lose weight almost effortlessly. It's going to be easy, and it's also going to be easy to keep that weight off. When you are no longer dieting, the weight is not going to come back on. Isn't that beautiful? Let's go to it. Cortisol, being produced by the adrenal glands, starts to spike at 4:30 a.m. if you're healthy. Why? Because 4:30 a.m. your body's starting to rev it up. It's starting to get itself ready to bring consciousness online, starting that day off. So cortisol starts to ramp up. Some of you that take your blood sugar in the morning, my diabetic patients do that, and some of the people that are really into metabolism do it as well. They always wonder, Doc, why is my blood sugar so high in the morning? I haven't eaten anything. Oh, that's called the dawn effect. The dawn effect is where your adrenal glands are coming online, pumping out the cortisol. Cortisol brings up your blood sugar. Yes, cortisol actually energizes you that way. Blood sugar is not the enemy either, guys. Blood sugar is crucial. Without blood sugar, our hearts die. Without blood sugar, our brain dies. People say, well, blood sugar feeds cancer cells. True, but blood sugar feeds our cells and our soldiers as well. So keep that in mind. Let's stop villainizing these substances and understanding how to work with them. Back to it. Cortisol elevates, blood sugar goes up, our bodies are coming online. This is the best time to prime the adrenal pump, the heart pump. And we are going to create organic formulas that are going to go into you. Very low calorie, very hypernutrient. They're going to go into you and they're going to start to satisfy the blood's needs, the heart's needs, the liver's needs, and the pancreas. They are actually going to allow those organs to take a break. We have insulin mimickers in your formulas. Those insulin mimickers actually help your body control the blood sugar without having to release another hormone that's very important to our discussion, and that is insulin. We do not want cortisol and insulin to meet. I have 4 total children. They're awesome, gifts from God. But sometimes when 2 of them get together, they become like demonic. And it's like they're 2 angels, and then you bring them together and they become this evil molecular structure. Why? Well, sometimes when we bring 2 things together that are good, they don't interact very well, and they start to conflict with each other. That's exactly what happens to cortisol and insulin. So we don't want to be releasing large amounts of insulin when our cortisol levels are the highest. Is that making sense? So we do not want to start putting food into our body immediately. What am I telling you? I'm telling you the most important meal of the day, we've been promoting it and pronouncing it as breakfast, is absolutely wrong. Stop eating breakfast entirely. Don't get me wrong. You like breakfast foods. You're going to eat that later in the day. Why? Because cortisol is on a roller coaster. She goes up, but she comes down. When she comes down, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. she's dropping lower and lower. 2 p.m., 3 p.m. she's low. Think about it. When do you get low energy? Cortisol levels are down. Cortisol is for your energy. Cortisol levels are down. You're starting to drop off at the workplace. 2:33. You start headed for a Red Bull. Yeah, Red Bull gives you the wings the hard way. We got to be real careful with caffeine anhydrous, which is really, really damaging to the adrenal glands, really damaging to the testosterone and the thyroid levels. I'm not going to just pick on Red Bull. We get into stimulants like refined white flours or refined white sugars and hardcore caffeines. So be very careful. Don't get into that stuff, and if you are, we'll help you break free of it. But back to it. This, from 1 p.m., where your cortisol levels are low, it starts to elevate back up at 6 p.m. 6 p.m., there it is. 6 p.m. it starts to elevate back up. That is what we call the window of weight loss. Our metabolic window is open from 1 to 6. That's when we're consuming our solid foods. I hate to tell you guys this, but you can put almost anything into that 1 to 6 window if you're doing the priming process that we're showing you here and still remain healthy. Now, if you eat lean foods, we'll show you how to do that in Metabolic Boot Camp. You're going to get leaner and leaner with each cycle, which is each week, which is awesome. But let's say you don't eat clean. Let's say you eat dirty, like I do, certain days of the week. But you eat within that metabolic window, respecting the cortisol levels and waiting until she comes low when you start to eat. What happens? Well, you don't lose more weight, but you don't put weight back on. Huh? Pretty cool. So we can eat almost any type of food, including carbohydrates, between 1 and 6, and we begin to discover, whoa, I didn't put a bunch of weight back on. We want you to get leaner, of course, in Metabolic Boot Camp, so we'll teach you how to do a reduce phase and a reload phase. You'll have fun with that because we want to eat good foods too, but we also want to eat clean as well. So anyway, cortisol is coming back down. She starts spiking up at about 6 o'clock. Well, that's right when we want to finish off a good dinner, but you want to have a protein, a fiber, and a fat right about that time because here comes cortisol back up. This is the exact time at night that we want to prime the brain pump and the bowel pump. There are two brains. One of them is north, one of them is south of the border. That is right. There is a brain the size of a cat's brain, which is pretty large. If you ever met a cat, they're pretty smart. It's in your gut, and it produces 90 to 91% of your serotonin, and many of the healthy chemicals that are supposed to be in your upper brain are produced in your lower brain, the brain south of the border. What do they say? What stays in Mexico, it stays in Mexico. What happens in Mexico stays in Mexico. Not in this case. We want that Mexican brain to express those wonderful chemicals and bring them up to the brain north. So in this case, what happens in Mexico does not stay in Mexico. We want it up. Why? Because that keeps our brains firing. Synaptogenesis relies on those chemicals. Synaptogenesis is where the synapses, the neurons are growing and connecting, so your memories are connected. That is the fluidity of your intelligence and your ability to project out into the future through imagination. It gives you hope. It keeps you from depression. It keeps you from anxiety, and that's what we want for all of you guys. So, critical timing and priming. When do we consume our foods? Solid foods coming at 1 p.m. Stop at about 6. Why? We don't want insulin, which is released when we eat food, to come in contact with cortisol. They're great hormones, separate, but when they come together, demonic. We got to be real careful with that. Number 2, we want to prime the brain at night with the PM blend, turmeric tea. We'll teach you how to make that stuff up. Don't worry about it. That's in another video. We want to prime the blood and the bowel in the morning. How do we do that? We're using our AM formulas. We're using filtered waters and lemon juice and apple cider vinegar. We'll show you how to do all of that. I can't wait for you to start understanding how to get a healthy relationship with the cycling hormones in your body. Align that with the energies that are around you with regards to the sun and the moon and the lunar effects. You will begin to experience some wonderful, wonderful energy states as you lose weight almost effortlessly. Enjoy.